Hey, we're live on TV. Hi, I'm Chris Clark, Artistic Director of Cinema St. Louis, proud presenters of the 29th Annual Whitaker St. Louis International Film Festival. I'm so happy and sad at the same time to be talking about this part of the festival, the New Filmmakers Forum Roundtable. In real life, it would be the Sunday morning coffee after we've seen all the filmmakers' films over time. This competition has been part of the film festival for nearly 25 years, and both myself and Andrea Sporsik, who is the head of the Missouri Film Office. We have a long history in the curation of this event. Our dear, dear friend of ours, who was the founder of this part of the festival, Bobby Lautenschlager, passed away from pancreatic cancer a couple of years ago. But her passion for for film and filmmakers, she was known as the godmother of St. Louis filmmakers. She would hug and kiss anybody, read anybody's script, talk to anybody endlessly, was always the last one at a party, even though she didn't drink. She just loved film and people and was just a good Christian woman and a nurse and lots of things. But she really cemented this part of the festival where we honor first-time narrative feature directors of any age, in any gender, of any color, of anything, as long as they made their first narrative feature film. We pick what we think are the 5 most intriguing possible choices in any given year, and then we put them in a cruel toe-to-toe competition where they watch the films with each other, with the jury, and then become fast friends, but there can only be one winner. So there's it's such a great emotional thing. And many of the filmmakers over time have worked with each other, remained friends, and just been great filmmakers. So we're happy to be at this point of it. And all these films come out of the submission pool. These are just films that are just sent to us through the transom. We don't know where they're coming from. They're not invited, but we pick what we think are the 5 best. And here's a new guest. Hello, Carlos. I'm just rambling on a little bit. So I'm going to disappear into the mist, and I'm going to let my great friend and former colleague, Andrea Sporsik, lead the discussion. She has spoken to each of you individually. This is the first time the filmmakers are meeting kind of face-to-face, so to speak. And then we will announce the winner of this competition and the recipient of a $500 cash prize and lots of virtual hugs during our closing night awards ceremony, which will be held tomorrow night virtually at 7:30. And we've got lots of stuff lined up for that already. So I will now take off. So it was nice to meet all of you a little bit, and I'll leave this to Andrea. Thank you very much.
All right. Good morning. Again, we're all coming from different places, and I think we have one more director coming. Carlos, was your co-director coming with you?
Oscar, yeah,
okay.
I was texting to him. He'll probably, yeah, I don't know what happened, but yeah.
Okay, and Amy, I think Amy's still coming too. So when they pop in, we'll figure out how to do this, right? First, I'm gonna have you guys introduce yourself briefly and the film that you made that's in competition, and tell us the brief description of it, because people, if they haven't seen it yet and they're watching this conversation, they can still see it through tomorrow night. So we'll start, we'll go alphabetically with Easy Bake. Zoe, do you want to tell us a little bit?
Sure. Hi, I'm Zoe. So Easy Bake is about the societal pressures put on women, people with uteruses, to have children. The movie follows a 22-year-old person named Ivan who's she's inexperienced in life and in dating, and she gets told by her doctor that due to an unforeseen medical circumstance that she only has 1 year to conceive a child. So she has to, figure out her next move, if she's gonna try to do that or not.
Awesome, thank you. And you were with us today from, where are you today?
I live in Chicago, but I'm from St. Louis.
Awesome, so. Yes. Cool, we're gonna get more to that, to your background a little bit in a minute. Rich, do you wanna talk to us about
Sure.
Killing Eleanor?
Yeah, my name is Rich Newey. I'm the director of Killing Eleanor. It's, in a nutshell, it's about a terminally ill 80-year-old woman who decides she wants to die on her own terms, and she seeks out a 30-something-year-old addict she has a history with to help kill her in exchange for clean urine.
Yes, I love that ending part. The Last Raptor, Carlos?
Yes, I'm Carlos Betancourt. I'm from Cuba. I live in Los Angeles now. And this is our first film. We co-directed with Oscar Ortega. We started making films back in Cuba a couple of years ago, a bunch of years ago. So our film, it's about a Cuban rafter. It's about a Cuban immigrant that comes in on a little boat from Havana to Miami the day that the wet foot, dry foot policy is rescinded. And very quickly, what that means is that Cubans now have to go through the same immigration process that everybody else, and they don't have we don't have the political asylum capabilities or wiggle room that it was there before. So this is basically the first Cuban immigrant that comes in, and in the middle of this shift, it's in the water the day this happens. So it's about his personal experience navigating a new world, and a very polarized world, and very different than what you're told once you're not in the US. So it's really, really about the outside perspective in the middle of what's kind of been happening over the last couple of years, and just a guy trying to find his family, find his history, find missing pieces of his own identity, and figure out what to do next, basically. So that's what the film it's all about. And yeah, it's playing right now also in Miami, local, in an art house theater that is starting to open up, and figuring all this out too. So we're very, very happy, and very happy to be here too.
Awesome, thank you. Amy, I know you just popped on. We're starting with a brief synopsis of your film for those who haven't seen it yet, that can still see it before the end of the festival.
Yes, sorry, I had a little bit of a technical
No worries.
just now. But yes, my film is about an Asian American cop, his life unraveled after he shot an innocent Black man through the wall.
Awesome. And Naive, want to tell us about Small Time?
Yeah. So Small Time is about a little girl growing up in rural America in an atmosphere of addiction and trauma and faith, I would say. And it sort of explores the disparities that exist in American culture at this time, as well as identity and becoming someone now in this society. Who will we become?
Thank you. Awesome. I think all of these films have come from a place of passion for all of you. And I got to see that already a little bit. I'm hoping that our viewers will see that too. And this session is really kind of about more the business side too, like how you got here, like what were the struggles that it took to get, because films are hard to make at all levels, and definitely first films are really hard. So if we can go back through and talk a little bit about how you got to this point, and what did you study, what led you to filmmaking to this point. So do you want to go first?
Sure. So I didn't study film, but I went to Webster University, which has a really big film program. And I got into film because my roommates were filmmakers, and they would ask me to like play little parts in their films. And I had so much fun with it, just like how involved filmmaking is, and how it's an art form, that relies on so many other people. I thought that was that's what really, I guess, drew me to it initially, was that all these people had to work together to make, like a 5-minute short film or something. So I kind of got my feet wet with that. And then my good friend Kristen, also my roommate, she needed help writing her senior overview. She didn't know what to write it about. And I would just tell her all these like stories about my life being a camp counselor for like 5 years. And she was like, that's hilarious. We have to make that as my senior overview. And so I helped write it. I helped produce it. I played a hyperbolized version of myself. And I had so much fun with that. And I just started like writing scripts. She taught me how to write scripts, and I would make these like fun little shorts that would poke fun at how women are portrayed in media. And so it was this really cool thing where that's something I'm extremely passionate about, how women are, portrayed in media, and I love to write. And so this like really, kind of like merged my two passions. And yeah, so I just started making shorts with Kristen, who ended up being the director of photography on Easy Bake. yeah, so I kind of just like fell into it, but I fell in love with it, and I love it.
Awesome. Cool. Rich, what is your origin story?
I did go to film school. I went to the Academy of Art University in San Francisco. The goal was to, I was a junkie for Spielberg and Lucas and Scorsese and all these people, and I was like, I'm going to be a filmmaker. That's what I want to do. And coming from a small desert town in Palm Springs, the question was how. So I found this school had a lot of hands-on equipment. We got to shoot a lot of stuff. It was more practical than theory. So we ended up. I started making movies there, little shorts, and a friend of ours actually won a Clio Award for a commercial he did, a student Clio, and all of our friends kind of shifted gears. And we said, oh wait, we can start being filmmakers in this other way very quickly if we do some music videos and commercials. And so I did a lot of that towards the end of my film school career, and I got signed as a music video director out of school, and I did a lot of hip hop and R&B videos. I did that for about 12 or so years, which turned into commercials. I did a lot of stuff for, like clients like Leo Burnett and stuff like that. And it kind of drifted a little bit from the filmmaking long form, but it was always that it was meant to be a stepping stone. But I kind of got caught up in this short form business, which was a lot of fun, and I learned a whole lot. I started as an editor, and that turned into this directing of music videos and commercials. And then I ended up getting a manager, and the manager said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to make film and TV. I've always been a TV junkie. So then I slowly became an episodic television director, and that's kind of primarily what I do now. But that longing for being a narrative filmmaker continued, right? And it kind of got away from me a little bit, and I wanted to figure out a way to get back to it. And then I was very fortunate because I met my wife, who is a brilliant actor and writer now, and she stars in Killing Eleanor, and she wrote it, and she had the drive and the force to get me back on the path, and I realized she was such a good writer, and we just said, well, we need to be making movies, and she it was her first feature, writing Killing Eleanor, and we figured out how to get it made, and it was a blast. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. We're going to hear more about that in a little bit. Carlos, how did you get into this business?
Yes. So as I was saying, me and Oscar, the co-director of the film, we started playing music and being kids in Cuba, kind of like in a garage band type of deal. And university was coming up, and it's like, what can we do that is close to this? But it's not music, since it's a career you have to start such a, as a child, that we were more like amateurs. They're like, okay, let's try filmmaking. Why not? And it really hooked us. So yeah, I went to film school in Havana, and we made little shorts, and same as everyone here is describing, kind of that same deal in a very closed off place with not a lot of access to equipment. So it was a lot of invention of how to do things, and like watching little videos of how people was doing it here in Europe and trying to replicate that, finding clients and all that. I was fortunate to go back and forth to the island, which is not very common. So we were able to build a production company that was pretty, doing pretty good there. But I felt that the ceiling was, was very, very close. So it's like, okay, let's try something else. So came to LA with the idea of going to film school for like a master's program. So I went to AFI. It wasn't the time, so I waited for a couple of years and worked here in the industry and did any kind of work, from coming from production company in Cuba to doing anything here, like PAing and set, and like just finding out how things work, how you work, talk through walkie in English, in a very different kind of like moving the sets along in a very different way. We're very, very, very guerrilla. You assume that things are not going to be there when you land there. It's a total different here. And it's like you have all the options, but you have to really prep. So it's it's kind of that adapting. So that went well. I went to AFI for directing, and while I was finishing, Oscar was in Miami and had expanded some of the commercial work that we were doing in Cuba, and like shifting over and changing gears. So we had figured out a way of like keep going as a duo. And then this idea for the film came on when, of course, the shift in politics and everything that had happened. So we were like, okay, how can we, talking about our own community and what's happening in the Latino community in general, and the whole like little silos that are being created and little micro societies, and people are not understanding each other, and it's so strange. So we're like, okay, let's try and figure this out from our own perspective and our own point of view, which would probably be naive and not, there's probably a lot of other angles to do it in a deeper way, but we're going to do it as we could best do it, which is from this fish out of water kind of perspective. And I think it works. I think it relates to people in a different way, and people can see reflected in the film from maybe an angle or a perspective that you were not expecting at the beginning, and it has all the fun parts of it and the humanity of it, which was also something that we were trying to find from the beginning. It's like, how are we going to do this with honesty and being truthful and being grounded and raw, but also having those moments like life is, moments of levity, cracking a joke, singing a song, the things you do to just go by whenever life gets hard. So that's part of what it was. And the shooting was like that too. We were adapting to a lot of stuff. We had no money.
I'm gonna stop you.
Okay.
We're gonna get to that, I promise.
Okay.
The lessons learned and all that fun stuff.
Okay, cool.
Amy, how did you, what was your background that brought you to this place?
I started, I also went to film school, but I started in math like any good Chinese American kid would. And then I got an internship at HBO, and I just caught the bug. I just watched people on set, and it was super exhilarating. And then I went to UCLA for film school, and then I also did a lot of short form videos and commercials, and I've been trying to find the right first feature until there was an incident that happened in New York where an Asian American cop killed an innocent Black man in the projects, and that really inspired an idea. So I start writing that, and yeah, here we are. So yes.
All right. Naive, can you talk to us about your background? You've done and all of you have hyphenates in all of your titles, and you definitely have multiple hyphenates.
Yeah. Well, I actually went to undergrad school to be an actor for theater. And then when I got out of school, there was I found I had no control over what I was going out for, what I was trying to do, all of that. So eventually I realized I wanted to be making projects, and I moved to France, where my father's French, so I'm half French. And I just started making little films on my own, trying to figure out how it's done. And I did that for quite a while. And, with DV Cam, and then with Super 8, and then on to 16 mil. So that was kind of my training. Then I came back to New York because I was wondering if I was doing it right, frankly, as it was all really just kind of self-discovery. So I went to an MFA program and in film, and actually, got some sort of a film education finally. And then it kind of continued on from there. And yeah, I thought I was just going into directing, but then slowly but surely I realized I was shooting all of my own projects, and that I enjoyed shooting very much, and that I would enjoy shooting for other people as well. And that was kind of when I started feeling valid, when I could put someone else's vision into an image as well as just my own. And editing as well, kind of do it all.
Awesome. It's such a balance with the collaborative nature, yet the vision of the director or producer or writer. It's a balance of those two things. And I think all of your films kind of show that. So either you wrote the scripts yourselves, you guys, or you worked intimately, in your case, Rich, with the screenwriter. So can we talk a little bit about the script process? Like, how long was the script process? How did you develop the script? Zoe, you want to go first?
Sure. I had the script in my mind for a long time. I think around when I was like a junior in college, I kind of just had the idea of writing this sort of like based off of my own experiences. And in my mind, this would like never, be made. But it was just like a fun thing to like jot down ideas for. But it wasn't until about like 2016 when I decided to write it down. I like, formally, my partner makes films as well. And I kind of went up to him. I was like, I have this idea for a film. I kind of want to call it like Easy Bake, and there's an Easy Bake oven. And he was like, oh, that's genius. You have to write that. You need to write it. So it took me I had to like really learn the ins and outs of writing a script because I didn't know that format yet. So that took a while. So in the beginning, we would sit at our kitchen table and I would like dictate what I wanted, and then he would, put it in the form, and I would watch him do it. And then after I got that, I could like, take off and write. But it took me maybe about 9 months, I think, to like really hash it out and write it to the point that I really liked it. Yeah. And a lot of the script too, but before I really decided like I'm going to write the script and I'm going to make it, I wanted to make sure that a few people were on board. So that was also an element of it too. Like the character who plays my sister is my real life sister, and it's based off of my sister. So I wrote the script like kind of halfway, and I gave it to my sister and I was like, do you like this? Because I don't want to like keep going if you don't like it, because I can't imagine anyone else playing you. Thank God she said yes. But I had like her input on it and everything too. But yeah, it took about 9 months of like figuring out how to write a script, coming up with a story, and then like, finishing it off.
Awesome. Thank you. Rich?
Yeah, my wife, as I said, wrote the script. It started about 10 years back, or over 10 years back. She was subletting an apartment in New York, and it was an older woman was going to let her apartment up, and they were going to sign the lease, but it was on a yellow legal pad, and it was just very informal, and the older woman said, okay, well, here's the lease or whatever, and I said, okay, just sign here, and I'm butchering the story a little bit, but the old woman said, yeah, you could sign it, or you could agree to help kill me later when I want, and then you can stay here for free. And so Annika laughed because she didn't know what else to do, and then the old woman laughed, and she still to this day doesn't know if she was being serious or not. She just signed the lease, and it went on from there. And so that always kind of stuck with her. And then 10 years later, she met Jenny O'Hara doing a play, and she was a very young actor at the time. And Jenny O'Hara's been in 200 movies, right? She's just this force. And she pinned her in the dressing room one day, and she said, Jenny, I have a movie idea. It's going to be you and me, and we're going to do this thing, and I'm going to write it, and it's going to be great. And Jenny at the time, she's like, yeah, sure, kid, it's going to be great. Let me know. And then sure enough, we ended up meeting, and I got to read some of Annika's stuff, and it was great. And I come from a structure kind of, I write quite a bit too, and I come from more of a structure standpoint, and Annika's coming from an actor standpoint. I mean, her dialogue is just incredible, and she could everything she writes is just so nuanced and so wonderful. I think she was having trouble with structure, and so when we got together and I got to read some of her stuff, I gave her a little bit of pointers from what stuff I had learned in film school, and she was able to kind of finally churn out this draft that she'd been noodling about for forever, right? And so we kind of worked together, and I think the whole writing time took about a year to write, kind of with on again, off again, moments. But then we had a table read with some actors, Jenny included, because we knew we wanted her to be in the movie, and that helped inform the process. And so yeah, all in all, it was about a year, and then I mean, we I'm sure we'll get into how we got the movies made in a later question, but that all happened relatively quickly after that, which is a not so regular story.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
Awesome. Carlos, the script, how did you guys work it out?
So while I was still at AFI writing and directing my thesis film, Oscar was actually come up with the script, the first version, kind of like very, very first raw draft of everything, with the seed of the idea and the heart of what would happen if the Cuban is in the ocean this day, as a premise. So so I really liked the idea. We started working on the script really hard while I was shooting my thesis at AFI. And then right after, it happened like really in parallel to the two things. My thesis was a short film, and this one was feature. So we knew that it was a bigger thing, but we really wanted to honor the timing of the story, because we knew that it was, you know, it needed to be done fast. If not, it's not going to have the same impact of having this character interacting with this world, because it's also, it was a very current thing that was happening at the time, and we knew we wanted to explore bigger themes. So it was like, okay, how can we kind of like use this as an umbrella, but really go deeper into what it means to be man right now, and like masculinity and toxic masculinity that you don't see, and that is not like out front in like the macho culture with the gun and the drugs and all this stuff that you see in media. It's like, it's way more subtle. It's in your friends, it's in your interactions, it's in your jokes, it's in, you know. So we wanted to really put that into the script, and talking about, yeah, about the past and the bigger, you know, society and all this part, but also identity and the inner struggles of a young boy becoming a man in the middle of an immigration process in the US. So yeah.
Awesome. And very invested in your experiences too, like what you guys
That's true. Yes, yes. We really pull from what we knew, which was our time all the way up to here, in a different situation, and honoring, of course, the reality of that story and the hardship of it. So so it was also that, you know, it's combining our own experiences and thoughts and moments of interaction with the real life experience of what could have happened in this situation.
Wonderful. Thank you. Amy,
Thank you.
the script process for you, Amy?
Yeah, so so there was this unfortunate incident that happened in 2014 in Brooklyn, where an Asian American cop killed an innocent Black man in the Pink Projects. And so from there, I went home. I lived in New York City. I live in New York City, and I went home to the Bay Area for a weekend. And then there was this dinner table discussion where there was a big dinner. There was 10, 12 of us, friends and family, and people they're all Asian Americans, and we're all Asian Americans. And people started this big debate about whether this cop was scapegoated. This cop was the first cop that was indicted in 12 years, but at the same time, there was an innocent Black man whose life got cut too short. And so at the dinner table, everybody was just debating about this incident. And I thought it was really interesting, because I felt like this incident had a lot of shades of grace. And I wanted to write a film that sort of explored that, where pretty much I myself stand as an Asian American in this whole spectrum of racism in modern day America. So yeah, so I set out to write the script in 2015, I believe.
So what was the process of writing it? Did you, were you still in school or not in school at that point?
No, I was out of school for many years. Yeah, at that point. And yeah, it took me many drafts. I felt like I was walking a very tightrope the entire time. You know, there's always two sides to the story, and yeah, it was a interesting process.
I think it's helpful to hear real stories of how long it takes, and because I think people don't realize sometimes. And Small Time started out as a short film, right? So it was a short script first.
Yeah. And it had no intention of becoming a feature, actually. It was just a short that I made, but then we had a really nice experience making the short. And this actress was the young actress, Audrey Grace Marshall, is so just present and tangibly real that we all kind of were joking in the first shoot of the short that, you know, we should see what happens to her later on. You know, is she going to go down a life of crime, or what's going to happen to this girl? So then I actually took all of this joking seriously and realized that we should see what happens to her, and proposed to the team that we continue on, they all said yes. And so I wrote up a part 2, which is her continuation of her story. And the idea was to let her grow. It's about growing up. So it was important to me to allow her time to grow up between the different parts, and use the short as part 1, because she was 7 years old when we shot that. So, there's no going back to that young age. So we used the short as part 1, and then I wrote a part 2 about a year and a half later. Then after shooting part 2, I wrote a part 3. So each part kind of came out of what happened during the shooting and what the characters brought to the roles, what the actors brought to the characters, I should say, which was really interesting because it wasn't like I was controlling or, sculpting this larger story. I was kind of following what they had given, and from what they had given, the actors, I would bring them where it felt right to bring them. So it was a rather organic, really nicely organic process of writing for them and kind of from them as well.
Awesome. Cool. So I know this question is 2-part. So it's once you have the script, or in your case, once things are rolling, it's the getting your team together, your key collaborators, and then also, of course, the financing. So if you can talk a little bit about kind of what were the first things that really fell together to move you forward, and talk a little bit about the financing. Zoe?
Sure. So I knew if I was going to make a movie, I would make it with Kristen. So a lot of this hinged on if she could say yes. Because again, I didn't go to film school, and I needed someone who I'd worked with before and understood that I might not know the terminology for everything. And Kristen is really good at taking my incoherent babble and then being yeah, got it. And then coming out with a beautiful shot. So we have a really good relationship. But Kristen is a very successful videographer now. And so she travels all over for work. And I knew that was going to be a complication, but I asked her, I said, I wrote this movie and I really wanted to make it with you. And she was like, yes, I definitely want to do this. I don't know if I can give it the time. I really don't think I have a 2-week, 3-week chunk to take off. And I said, that's fine. We'll shoot it around your schedule. And so she was on board. So the first 2 people that really dove into this were me and Kristen. And we really didn't have a crew in the beginning. I knew Kristen was my most important person. So we wrote the script. She loved it. I knew I was going to play the main character from the get-go because it's based off of me. And then I knew if we were going to be shooting this around Kristen's schedule, it would be easier if the director is free to do it. I knew the person that's in every single scene is also going to be free. So it just, worked out that way. But we ended up having to shoot the movie. I knew we had to shoot the movie over the course of 2.5 years. Just on weekends, we shot 1 day a month for 2.5 years with children too. So it was a wild ride. But I was worried that caveat would be hard to get people to join my team. But we were really lucky. I really wanted an all-female crew. I was really adamant on that. And my crew consisted of myself, Kristen, my friend Taylor, who has never been in a film or ran sound. And we just needed someone, and she jumped in and, was our sound recordist. And then we brought in another camera person, Catherine, because a lot of our movie is improvised, and it was easier to have 2 cameras going at opposite sides for editing purposes. And it was just the 4 of us. So they were our main crew. We had people who would come in and volunteer in and out, but it was finding, people that were really passionate about it and, were passionate about, giving me 1 day like one 18-hour day a month for 2 years of their lives. And then I was really lucky that they hopped on board. And then funding wise, we had shot a little bit of the movie, and then we made like an Indiegogo campaign basically to get financing. And that was extremely successful. I am still shocked sometimes when I think about how successful that was. I put, without much thought, I was like, $10,000, I can make this movie for $10,000. I knew, I was like, if I didn't get that $10,000, I'll make this movie for $1,000. I'll figure it out. And we made about $8,000 off of the Indiegogo campaign. And so, yeah, we made a feature film for $8,000, and I'm extremely thankful that people liked the idea so much that they were willing to donate. And it was especially cool because in the Indiegogo campaign, we talked a little bit about why we made the film, and it was really neat because women who I didn't even know like reached out to me saying like, I'm donating to this because you're telling a story that's my story, and I don't see that. And that was really neat. Also very terrifying because I was like, well, now I have to make this really good movie because they said they liked it. But yeah, so financing, Indiegogo, crowdfunding, and then having a team that was really dedicated and willing to, to work less for less than what they're worth. But I was also adamant on paying everyone. So most of that money went to paying the crew for their time.
Awesome. You didn't have to tell the budget, so I appreciate that you shared. And some of
It's
these
on the
budgets,
internet. You can look at it.
okay. And the budgets of the other films might be not $10,000. So, Rich, you want to talk about your team and some of the financing that came together?
Yeah, I mean, after Annika finished the script, the next thing we knew we needed, finding money is the trick, right? Making a film is hard, but finding money is harder. So we decided to build a package. Annika, having an extensive acting background over 20 years, had made a lot of friends. And so we thought the best thing we could do would be attach talent. So we had Jenny. And then Annika had worked with Jane Kaczmarek on another play, and also pinned her in the dressing room to get her to say yes. So we had her, and our good friend Tommy Sadowski just played a small role, and then he helped us get Betsy Brandt. And then I knew Chris Mulkey forever, and he's been a dear friend. So I got Chris aboard, and we got Cameron Manheim, and we had this really wonderful package that we could then say, okay, hey, we got this package, we got a script, we got a lookbook, we got all this great stuff. Now what? And that's when we brought on our two producers, Richard Kahan and Angie Gaffney. And Angie had a relationship with a group out of Chicago called the Chicago Media Angels, who were a group of financiers who just love indie film. And they do these quarterly pitches, and they will finance some or all of your movie, depending on how they feel about it. And one or all 50 investors could invest. It's a really interesting model. And we got the chance to pitch them. And within 2 weeks, we found out we had our budget, and they decided to finance the whole thing. They loved the movie so much. And a month later, Annika and I were on the road, and we took a road trip out to Chicago. And we had to rewrite the script. Annika had to rewrite the script to shoot in Chicago because they want to bring filmmaking to Chicago. And we had originally wrote it for the Pacific Northwest. So that was a bit of a thing, an easy thing, but we had to get that done. Then we took the road trip out to Chicago. And I mean, Annika and I both are very scrappy, like me coming from music videos and Annika from her acting background. Like we like to do a lot, get our hands dirty. And so she was the casting director, right? And we were the location scouts to begin with. So we drove out to Chicago, looked for locations. We took the road trip up to the Upper Peninsula just to know what it felt like. And so once we were kind of in Chicago, we started building our team. And so I dug deep back into my film school roots, and my DP, Jessica Young, who I've got 20 plus year relationship with, has shot a lot of things for me over the past. We went to film, like I said, we spent a lot of time together as friends, and she comes from a doc filmmaking background. She shot Sound City for Dave Grohl and stuff like that. And we knew we wanted the movie to be all handheld, and she shoots some of the best handheld I've ever seen. And we just had this shorthand already, so it just made perfect sense to have her on board. And so we had her, and we knew we were going to bring somebody else out from LA. We needed a really strong AD because we knew we had 30 locations in 17 days and over 30 actors. and it was just going to be move, 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 move. And I'm used to moving fast coming from my background, but we just needed somebody to like run that ship and be really efficient. So one of the first things I did as a TV director was I shadowed a lot of directors. And one of the first shows I shadowed was a show called CSI New York, and our first AD, Jen Wilkinson, was the AD on that show. I mean, she's a huge AD. She does Utopia for Amazon and stuff like that, and Dear White People, and so I said, Jen, I know you're super busy, but would you have 17 days, maybe 25, if you want to enjoy some prep time to come out and do this movie? And she jumped at the opportunity, which was to our benefit, because without her it would be really impossible to get done. So we had Jen, we had Jessica, we had Richard, we had Angie, and everybody else we found in Chicago. And we took the stance of, we wanted to give filmmakers an opportunity to level up, essentially. Our budget was, we were able to pay everybody a decent amount, but getting the top tier was probably not in our, and also Chicago's just a busy town, right? So a lot of shows are shooting. So we said, okay, how can we be really effective with our crew? So we found the greatest costume on set guy from television and said, hey, you want to be a costume designer? Let's be our costume designer. So that gave him an opportunity. We found our production designer, Chelsea. She's this brilliant art director in commercials, and she had never production designed a movie, but she brought her all-female team to be our production design art department team. And our makeup and hair people, they're wonderful, high-level TV hair and makeup people, but they never got a chance to really do a movie, so they jumped at the opportunity. And so we were able to amass a really wonderful team of people who just, our philosophy in making the movie was, I don't care if you're the PA or an electric or a grip or a DP or a director, we all got into this business to be filmmakers, right? You can make a lot more money being an electric, fixing houses or whatever, than you can on a film set. And so we wanted to create a very creative, nurturing environment for everybody on set to have input into this film that they're all giving, their lives to for the next, 17, 20 days, whatever. And so we found some really wonderful people that just gave it their all, which was a lot of fun.
Great, thank you. Carlos, your key collaborators and the financing.
Sure. So for us, while the script was running, we already had the approach of the main actor, of Hector Medina, who had done indie films in Cuba and had recently moved to the US. So it was a perfect timing. One of his films was actually the Irish entrance to the Academy Awards that went in a year, one of the, I think it's 2013, 2014, like a couple of years before we started all this. And he had just gone to Sundance for the Sundance Lab. So it was great collaboration and great moment to kind of solidify a strong whole team. And our producer, Alina Rodriguez, who had done a lot of production in television and Spanish-speaking television in Miami, Mexico, and a lot of other places. So it's like the four of us, plus then starting to reach out to the rest of the team and rest of the cast. And so yeah, basically that was at the beginning of it. It's one of those stories that you have some money that it's almost secure, but 5 days before production, you don't have it, and then you keep going anyway. So it was kind of that kind of story. We were super fortunate to have commercial work be coming right after the beginning, like the principal photography ended, and we had one commercial, and then we planned additional photography out of a little bit of money we saved from that one commercial, and then we had another one. It was kind of like that small business funneling a little money out of each of the jobs that we were getting in order to complete the film for a 6 months or more process. We had 3 iterations of shooting. We shot principal, we ran out of money, went out on work for 6 months or 3 months, shot another additional photography. And then we had a little bit in New York that we needed to complete for the ending of the movie. So we did that over the Christmas of the 2018. We completed, and then that's it. Set out to edit. Yeah.
Perseverance, man. Those were probably some scary moments in there, but you guys pushed through.
For sure.
Amy?
I think my story is a combination of Rich and Carlos. My partner and I has a production company, and we were working on a different film. That was gonna be my first feature, and that fell through about 5 days before we were gonna shoot. And our investor just asked us if we were doing anything else, and this story really, sparked the idea in us, and I started writing this, and yeah, this started going, and I think I was fortunate enough. I was in New York City. I had access to a really great pool of actors, and I worked with a really, really amazing casting director. Her name is Pat McCorkle, and she really stuck with me, and she was very patient with me. This is not an easy film to cast. We were casting in 2017, I believe, and it was difficult to find Asian American actor. There was a lot of them, us, whatever, but it was really difficult to find this main character for me, and this family, and it was really it took us many months to find the right family, and then so everything else, we shot on location in New York City. It was difficult. We had lots of locations, just like Rich. And we had a tiny little budget, and we really tried to stretch that, and so
How many days was your shoot?
30, but we had more than 35 locations, and
Gosh.
the large company moves, and so
Awesome. Okay. And for small time, your structure was different, of course. And did you use the same team the whole time, or how did that work?
Well, the same core team, but then of course a bunch of people, weren't available for the whole thing, so switched out. Where Small Time is also very, very scrappy little production, which happened out of very, very, very little. I just showed the script of the short to a friend of mine, and he really liked it, and I didn't have any prospects for getting it made because it has some specifics that I didn't have the money to put in to make those happen. And he said that he had a summer camp in rural Pennsylvania that probably could provide everything that was needed to make this short, including like the Harley, all the locations, transportation, food, lodging, I mean, really everything. So I was like, okay, let's do it. We did it, and so the short was made with almost nothing, but we offered, we offered our cast and crew, we didn't have money to pay them, so we offered them camp. This is a really awesome, actually, summer camp for kids, an arts summer camp. And we offered them camp tuition as payment. And so, of course, I was kind of looking for people with kids who wanted to, who could use it, but most people who were available and could do it didn't have kids. So they ended up being able to sell these vouchers if they couldn't use them. But of course, working for a camp voucher is a little tricky because it feels like you're working for no money at the time, so it does require an involvement that is very much passion project oriented, not a gig. And so then we continued on for the feature in the same vein. putting a little more money in because we had to go SAG. But also being that it's local out here, all of the locations, the producer, the director of the summer camp was able to make a bunch of calls and got schools, churches, businesses, homes, you know, everything just for free. So we kind of pulled it together with very, very little. And also, given that I do a lot of roles in this, that helped financially because I wrote it, directed it, co-produced it, co-edited it, colored it, shot it, casting, of course, it, location scouted it, you know, all of these things that could add to the budget were just done, you know, for me. So that saved a lot of cash.
And yet you were still able to eat and take care of yourself, which is good. I don't know how you do that.
Got it done.
Awesome. I do want to mention that one of your actresses is from St. Louis, Dominique Johnson. So just a little shout out there for her. And how did you found her just through the audition process, right?
I found her through audition. She auditioned for me. It was so obvious right away when she came in that, you know, she was the mom. So such a talented actress, Dominique Johnson.
Awesome. Great. So we talked a little bit, you all touched a little bit on production, but maybe like biggest lesson learned, or maybe the thing that happened on this set that you're going to make sure doesn't happen on your next film. Like, do you have some of those stories that you can share, Zoe?
Yeah. I think for me, one of the hardest things, and if I make another feature film that I'm in, which I don't know if I'll do again because that was a lot of work, but one of the hardest things for me to do was just like be present and like let things flow how they need to, because jumping back and forth between being a director and being the lead who's like, you know, carrying and driving this whole story, I would in my head think I was taking too much time acting, and I was so like cognizant of other people's time that I would like just try to like rush through a scene really fast, and then I would look back on it and I'm like, no, you have to, like, you're not going slow, like you need to take your time for this scene, like everything else will be okay, like everyone's okay right now, like, you know, so just like being a little bit more present if, you know, if I do decide to direct and act in my own thing again. And then just, I guess, being a little bit more confident in what I want and asking for that. And not being as self-conscious as I am, because again, I didn't go to film school. I'm not like widely, you know, connected in the film world. But like trusting my gut and like trusting my instinct. You know, like I was self-conscious. I didn't know if it, when I would throw parts of the script away on the fly and just say, I want this to be improvised, I was like, does this mean I'm not a director then, if they're like not reading my script and I'm just trying to have like an organic moment between like the kids playing, and instead of, you know, I wrote these lines, but I don't think I need them right now. I think I can just have the kids play. And so I was self-conscious. I'm like, I guess I'm not a director if I am just having them improvise. But being more confident in that and saying like, well, no, you are directing that. Like you made that conscious decision to make it improvised and organic. So you are a director. So yeah, I think that would probably be my biggest lesson learned. Yeah.
Awesome. Yep. Cool. Rich, any troubleshooting issues?
This wasn't particularly an issue on this go around, but just to tap into what Zoe was saying about being so budget conscious of everybody else's time, you know, I found I've been in that situation and I've sacrificed because I'm like, oh, we got to get done, or we got to move on, or this person's whatever. And I found I made a conscious effort with my first AD this time. Just I wanted somebody that I implicitly trusted, that I knew would drive the day, so I could focus on the creative. And so that's just a lesson I've learned over 20 plus years of just doing it the wrong way. You know what I mean? Where you're just like, however, we got to get it done, but there's certain things that you just need, right? That are just gonna help you as a creative voice tell your story, that are sometimes have nothing to do with the creativity of it and more about the efficiency of getting it done. And if you can separate yourself from some of these other things, because we all wear a lot of hats, I think it just lets you focus in more on telling the story. So having that was just, I mean, incredibly crucial. In terms of this movie, you know, look, everybody wants more time and more money, right? It's all that's what we want. We want more time and more money. So I think, you know, for me, 17 days with 30 plus locations was rough. You know, there was one particular day, I think it was like day 2, day 3 maybe, and there was 2 locations and they were very close together, but you know, time of day, we needed a morning of one, we needed the morning and the end of the day for one of these locations, then the middle of the day could be anything, right? So we're like, okay, well, let's chase the light a little bit. We're not far away, and we're gonna go morning, and then we'll move. We'll come back to the same location, which, in retrospect, is just no. You just don't do that, right? The light would be beautiful, but there's so many other factors, right? And so I went with like the creative aspect of it, and I should have put more of my practicality hat on, right? Because that morning it was like the biggest thunderstorm and lightning storm, and it was completely overcast, and the light didn't matter, right? But we were already locked in. We're already got to, you know, there's no way to change that plan because the locations were set. So we were chasing our tail a little bit that day, which was rough. And I think, especially on a indie budget, not a lot of days, sometimes those sacrifices need to be made, where we would have been better kept to, you know, shoot early morning for end of day, you know, fake that a little bit, shoot the part that happens the first part of the movie, you know, the second, and then move on to that other location that the time of day didn't matter. And that would have served our purposes a lot better, right? But it ended up working out. We made our day and all this stuff. But to your point, Zoe, like I felt very rushed that day, and I was like, we gotta move. And I think if I could go back, you know, that day of performances, like they're all great, they're all good, but just the perfectionist in me wanted to do that again, you know.
Awesome. Thank you. Anything else that you take into the next project with you?
What's that?
Anything else that you would do differently in your next film, maybe?
You know, I again, I just I chalk it up to more time and money. Like I just in the pre-production process, like I would just, you know, how do we maximize the amount of time we have to do what we need to do? You know, that to me is always the biggest factor.
Awesome. I see you shaking your head, Carlos. You agree. More time and more money. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. No, but beyond that, I feel like, and it's kind of going off of what both of you were saying before. I feel like you have to roll with the punches so much, and so many things are changing back and forth, and every day is just a new challenge in this indie films with not enough budget, and we've all gone through the same story. So if I look back, and I remember when I was editing, and I was showing the cut to someone I really trust, and he said something that is like, we were thinking, what's the story, what to cut out, what to leave in the movie, how much we shot, and what do we really need to streamline and have the better version of the film. And he said something that's like, you know, your character is just trying to find a family, or like choosing from 2 variations of what world, family, and being a person means at this time in this country. And I was like, if I had thought that, you know, during shooting, it would probably had a better, because you always have this backbone of what your story is, but you keep adding you think that your story is more than what your story is. And when you like strip it all out into like a very, very simple one little thing. So it's so, and again, we all know that we chase the want and the need and the structure and the one-liner and like try to clarify your movie in your mind, all that stuff. But it all goes back to that. And then you realize it and you're like, I thought my film was so complicated, but it's just a guy trying to find who he's going to be and what's his family, what's his tribe or his people, and realizing that having a tribe and a people sometimes, you know, it's part of the fun, but it's also part to see what the other side is seeing or looking at it, or how, you know, and I guess you're always in the middle in a way. But anyways, that's the specific of this one. It's like that kind of idea of like finding that core, that then you lose your location and it's not a parking lot anymore, you're in a restaurant now, but you have that, you know, you have that guideline and you can work through it. And I think we did, you know, we did a pretty good job at adapting and rolling with the punches, but still we had shot less if we had no better what kind of movie we were telling from the beginning. So it's that kind of part of the exploration and the learning process of it. I think it has been a great journey of learning. But I would have, you know, I would probably for the next one find that core, or have that core even clearer before. Yeah. Or at least keep chasing it. You know, you never stop chasing what is this film? Who's this character? What's going on? You know, wake up every morning with those same questions, I guess.
Awesome. I love that. And because you had the perspective of the full circle of being in the edit room too, I mean, that you can't,
Correct.
can't learn things until you learn them, right? That's
Yeah.
awesome. Amy, what about your troubleshooting lessons learned?
Yes, so I totally agree with all three of them. And Zoe, I completely agree with her of trusting your own instincts. I think don't second guess yourself. And honestly, for me, I think the biggest lesson is I need to sleep. I think it's really easy to stay up all night trying to prep for the next day. But I think, you know, a feature film, it was a marathon for me. So just have enough rest and, you know, trust that I have all the prep that I have for the next day, and not stay up too late, not get enough sleep. And I think that was really important to me. So yeah, and more money, more days, that, you know, that would always be nice to have. It's a luxury. But it also, I think for me, I did a lot of commercials before this, and I think I had the luxury of time. And this film really stripped me back down to the basics. And like Carlos says, to find what that core is, and to find what the heart of the story is, that relationships, and strip all the window dressings. I think I tend to try to put more of these window dressings into my films, and it really stripped me down to the core and say, okay, this is the only time we have. What do I need? What coverage do I need to be able to tell this story and to articulate the scene and to convey the emotions? So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Naive, I'm saying your name wrong. Tell me.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I relate to what everyone just said so deeply, and absolutely, like especially Carlos, my script was so meandering because it was kind of written gradually and loosely, and it's not really a story script. It's a nuance script. So there were so many scenes that could have been gotten rid of before shooting them rather than after shooting them, which would have facilitated, you know, our schedule and just you know, less frenzy. And you know, I hope I can get to a point where I can see that next time, that you know, that's not going to be necessary, and get rid of it in a timely fashion. But that also goes with, you know, time and money, of course. And I think what I would like to do differently is to play less roles so that I can have, you know, a little more piece of, not peace of mind, but like concentration on set. like what you were saying, Zoe, you know, it's so easy to get frazzled, and, you know, there's a lot going on. And our job is to be really present with a particular moment. And I found that that tended to get away from me at times just because there were so many hats. So I would definitely like to reduce a little bit so that I can, you know, be there and make sure that I know what, you know, what we're there for, and work towards getting that one thing and then move on to the next thing, and be able to be clear with intentions rather than just at times, you know, let's just get it and move on, because you have to get it and you have to move on.
Awesome. I love the moment that's just happened where it's all of your stories have kind of come together in this resonation of what it is to make films. And I love that. And it makes me sad that we are not all together and we haven't been talking about this the whole weekend like we usually would be. And this is the first time I've heard of a real film camp. I talk about this session being like a film camp for us, but I love that you actually had your crew and everybody at a film camp. That is so cool, and made it there. So those watching, you guys watching, I've asked a lot of questions. I'm going to ask one more question, and then we're going to take some questions from you guys. So be sending in your questions via chat, and we'll ask those in a minute. I also want to take a quick minute to thank our sponsors for this wonderful program that helps us be able to make this program happen. Pat Scallett, thank you for your support, and the Albright Foundation. Barry, thank you and your team for your support of this program. So my last question, what's happening distribution-wise, like festival-wise? Where can people tell their friends to see the film? And are you working on something next? I know it's a lot, but Zoe?
You can watch my film in the St. Louis International Film Festival. It's gotten accepted to a few other festivals that are postponed because of COVID right now. I've submitted it, you know, to other places, so, you know, here's hoping. I haven't really thought about distribution or anything like that. I'm just trying to, like, you know, take one thing at a time. And then, you know, I always have ideas. I'm always like writing, you know, loose ideas down. My brother and I, he made the music for the movie. He and I have been making music a lot together, and he's also a really, really great writer. And we really want to write a feature together. So we're like, you know, figuring out what that will be, and, you know, when we can shoot that. Yeah. So, I mean, I really enjoyed making this movie. I love high stakes problem solving. And I think filmmaking is high stakes problem solving, like, every second. So I really enjoy creative problem solving. And when I wrapped filming, I was like, thank God. But now I'm like, I miss that. So I definitely think I'll be making, you know, something in the near future.
Awesome. Well, we'll stay tuned to see. Rich?
Yeah, so we premiered right before this festival at the Savannah Film Festival, where we won Best Narrative Feature, so that was exciting. And then off of that, we came into St. Louis, and obviously we're still screening here, which is fantastic. We have a few other submissions out there for festivals that are, you know, along the timeline, and hopefully one just canceled, so it's just weird. This time of COVID is very interesting. So hopefully we'll do a few more. On the distribution side, we've dipped a toe. You know, we have a couple of offers, and we're waiting to hear about a few more. We're trying not to be impatient. I think with indie films that are not, you know, have giant stars in them, you know, I think we all need to be a little patient and find the right home, because we don't want to get lost in the ether, right? We want to make sure that audiences get to see the movies that we've worked so hard on. So, you know, it's this delicate balance of finding the right home, but also not being impatient. So we're kind of in that mix, and I feel like we have some good prospects, and we're looking to see what else might be there. As far as next projects, my wife and I really like making movies together. It's been a lot of fun. We're still married, so just so you know. And so another indie feature called Adult Children, about like kind of a sibling kind of love story about four siblings, that we're looking to shoot probably spring of next year, and just kind of putting the final pieces together of that. And then after that, we have another movie called The Tipping Point, which is a much larger movie, that we're probably looking about October, November to shoot that. Both written by my wife, and I cut Killing Eleanor, so I think I'm going to be cutting Adult Children. The other one, I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, those are the kind of the next projects on the horizon for us.
Great. Busy during this crazy pandemic time. Carlos, what's the plan with the film?
Yeah, so we were fortunate to open. We premiered the Miami Film Festival right before the pandemic started, so we got one show out of it, and four that were screened got canceled. But now they're coming back in a small theater with all the COVID safety measures and masks and everything. So little by little, the theater is starting to open up, and our film had been selected to do a commercial run down in Miami too. So that has been great. We were the opening night film at La Leaf, Los Angeles Latino Film Festival, which was awesome. And Edward James Olmos talked about the film, and we were so stoked about it and all that stuff. We are at St. Louis, which is amazing. We went on to New York Latino Film Festival, Seattle. We won Boston. So yeah, we're kind of like mid through in the run of festivals. We have a very exciting one, which is we're going to Havana Film Festival at the beginning of December. So it's going to be another natural place to screen the film and have a great relationship with the audience. So we're very, very much looking forward to that. And in terms of distribution, we have secure. It's not announced yet, so we cannot like fully disclose it, but we do have distribution, and the film will be in a streaming platform summer of 2021.
Great, congratulations.
Thank you.
Amy?
So we premiered at Bentonville a couple of months ago, and we're very happy to be in St. Louis right now, and we're going to Torino. Oh, the film is streaming in Torino this weekend, Torino Film Festival, and next month we are at Whistler in Canada. So the COVID film festival circuit has been really interesting. I wish I was seeing the film with a group, with the audience. So we are still shopping for distribution right now. I very much echo what Rich said. We're looking at offers and trying to figure out, trying to be patient. So as far as what I'm working on now, I'm writing 2 scripts, so COVID time, trying to make it work.
Crazy COVID times, and you've even shot so far, Naive, in a COVID environment, right? I think you were telling me you were about to shoot something.
Oh, I was, yes, and then
Okay.
COVID happened, and so we'll see what happens. I hope this third spike the curve will be flattened soon, and we can go back to normal of some sort.
Whatever that looks like. Exactly.
Definitely.
All right. Naive, you're Naive?
Niav.
Niev. I'm doing it so wrong.
Really? Yeah, don't worry about it.
I'm not going to look at it. I'm looking at it. I'm not going to look at it. Niev.
So we are also, just doing the online festival thing. It's bewildering, being entirely online in festivals. We were at Cinequest and we got the audience award there. We went to Rockport and got Best Feature there. We've been really having a lot of lovely awards coming in. And we were at Center Film Fest, a tiny little Pennsylvania festival where we got Best Feature, Best Director, and Best Actress for Audrey. now we're at St. Louis. We'll also be going to Whistler. So we'll see you there, I guess, Amy. And then I think the Bahamas, which obviously I wish was available to go to in person. And that's kind of where we're at the moment. Also taking time, not rushing into any distribution. We're putting some feelers out, but you know, I think when things are right, they'll start happening. I'm not trying to push it because I'm not even sure what it means at this exact time, distribution. So it's a little tricky. And then projects that I'm doing now is I actually just shot another feature, Quarantine Fashion, with and I was saying I want to do less on less roles, but I just did this feature with a 5-person total cast and crew in quarantine in Pennsylvania. That we just, you know, it all felt so dead and nothing happening. So there was this script that I had kind of had floating around in semi-formed way, and we just kind of made it happen. We got tested. We brought the 2 actors out here and we shot it. And it's called Person, Woman, Man, Camera, TV. So we'll see how that goes. We're in post-production now, and so it was kind of fun, a fun, very spontaneous project.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to seeing that in the near future. So, and I know it is such a wacky time distribution-wise. I do think, and I think I told all of you this before, but we are getting to be a whole in content. So I think you having finished films at this particular time are at a great advantage, you know, that hopefully you'll all find homes, the right homes, and that audiences will see them in a bigger way. So, but we're grateful that you all chose to show your films here, and that we're going to connect right now with some audience people. So I'm not sure if I'm asking the audience questions or if audience members want to ask the questions. If Chris or Brian want to tell me.
Hey, Andrea, look in your chat. I'll be sending you questions
Okay.
that way, okay?
Okay, great. So Theodore is asking about the biggest hurdle in the casting of each of y'all's films. So whoever wants to take that one. Casting hurdles, biggest casting hurdles. Amy, I think definitely you were struggling. Okay, Rich, go ahead. Whoever. You're on mute. Rich, you're on mute.
I was just going to say agents.
Oh.
You know, just kind of getting through, you know, and, you know, everybody's very lovely, but they're all, you know, everybody's doing what's right for their client. So it's about trying to, you know, convince the gatekeepers sometimes to, you know, read the project in order to get it to the person you're trying to get it to. So sometimes that's a challenge, I think.
Cool. Anybody else?
Yeah, and no, go ahead.
No, go for it.
No, I was gonna say I agree with Rich, and also you know, in this it's always keeping the balance of what we're doing and the passion for it, and that it's regularly, you know, you don't have enough money to pay everyone that what they deserve for the amount of talent and time and emotion and heart that they're putting in the film, but really. I guess the biggest deal there is just bringing people together because of what the film means, and like really get them involved with the story, I guess, and the script and the project and what it and the outcome. Because, you know, it's always a give and take of this. You know, we're not compensated the fullest for we're everybody, you know, that is on set and in the movie. So it's a matter of be very clear with the outcome and then try to deliver afterwards, you know.
Yeah, for me, it was to find Asian American, to find that Chinese American family. I wanted to keep the project authentic. I'm Chinese American, and I think the way I wrote a lot of the scenes, a lot of the family scenes, I wanted to be authentic. I wanted this to be a Chinese American family, and it was really difficult to find for some reason. I think it also speaks to a lot of the underrepresentation of Chinese Asian Americans in media. And yeah, so we cast it back in 2017. This was before Crazy Rich Asians and all that wave of Asian American films that came out. It was rather difficult. We went to some casting directors and we went to some people and they were like, oh, you're writing yourself into a corner here. And which was really interesting to me. But yeah, we just tried to be persistent and went to many different cities to cast and put out a huge net. And yes, agents and managers and yeah, they have a job to do too, I guess. So I'm happy they are the gatekeepers. But yes, it was definitely a challenge going to get people to read your script and send their talents over. But yes.
Awesome. Anyone else? Anything to add?
Yeah, I would just add casting kids is a real challenge and was so interesting because I realized that any kid who's gone to acting school is comes with so many learned behaviors that it's just not possible to work to a place of truth with them because you're just constantly getting rid of all of this stuff and it's not necessarily even possible to get rid of it. So I realized that I had to stay away from like schooled young actors because they really do a harm to young actors. They work in this weird outward, like, this is what happy looks like. This is what sad looks like way that then you like there's nowhere to go from there. So I went with Audrey, who had never done any acting before in her life. And of course that was really scary because I wasn't sure she could actually pull it off. But yeah, like finding kids who are untouched by the acting world was a really difficult and interesting challenge.
How did you find her specifically? I mean, was it
I
through?
put a casting notice up on one of those sites. I don't remember what, maybe Backstage or something. And she responded, but you know, totally with nothing. It was just a photo of her and like, I want to try doing this, you know? So it was pretty courageous on her part, I think, to dive into an acting role on set also with never having experienced it before.
So, and were her parents or a parent with her most of the time? How did that part work?
Oh yeah, her mom was there all the time. Yeah, and was like a huge support, you know. She was 7 years old during the short, so that's a pretty intense, and she was the lead and obviously the extreme lead of the whole feature. That's a huge amount of stuff to carry on very little shoulders, and her mother really, really helped make that a lot easier.
Has she seen the film in real life?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, all right, cool.
They've all seen it. They love it. I know it's kind of dark, and when she was first seeing it, I was like, oh, so we'll see how you feel about this. But you know, she's done it all also, so it was just kind of revisiting in her little way. And her mother also really liked the film. So that was reassuring.
Great. Rich, did you have something you were adding?
Yeah, just to tap into that, just the idea of authenticity. For us, it was very important to have, you know, the character of Eleanor be this, older 80-year-old, woman. And same with this younger character we had, Dylan, who was this, young 18, 19-year-old that we wanted this authenticity. So, we could have easily, I think when we were looking for financing, some people were telling us, oh, just you can cast, a 60-year-old, bigger name actor and just age her up. And we're like, no, this needs to be real and authentic. And Jenny was the only person that's gonna not, just get in the trenches with us, because she's just awesome, right? She's just gonna jump in with both feet. And same with Dylan, we could have easily cast like a 25-year-old that had more experience, but we said, no, we need to have this specific look and the specific innocence out of Dylan. And we looked long and hard in Chicago with local actors there, and we were able to find somebody who had mostly, actually all our actors are theater actors, which was a tremendous help. But Jordan had primarily just some small theater experience, and it was a big risk for us. But he had something. He had this thing, right? That you could easily, again, cast this 25 or 30-year-old to play this 18-year-old, but something's not going to feel real about it, right? So just to your point, and just this authenticity is, I think, super important. And I loved the performance of your young actress. She was wonderful.
Thank you.
Awesome. I know the chemistry too with actors is hard to find, and I know, Carlos, your two actors knew each other from before, right?
Right. Yes. No, that was something that we planned, kind of basing off of the relationship of the script. It was like, it would be so great to get these two together, because we all knew each other from art school in Havana. They are a little bit younger than us in age, like 3 to 4 years. They were starting out once. I'm sorry, there's some audio noise outside. They were starting out when we were finishing up in film school, and they were starting in acting school. So it's a big university. It has music, acting, film, everything together, kind of. So yeah, we always knew that history would show in the film, and that idea of one that comes in, like, the nuances of immigration, of like the time the amount of time you spend in the US marks a huge difference in who you are. And you really know it when you have somebody else that just came fresh off the boat. So we wanted to have that kind of like nuances and jokes and little moments that come after that, and what assimilation means, quite honestly, and why, and in the good and the bad. It's like watching these things as human processes, not with a label or with an academic standpoint. Some of these things, when you go to film school or to other venues, you start seeing it, and it's like, you talked about it, when we talk about it in a major way, of course, there is some sort of, there's a bigger understanding, but just finding out and stripping out all that into like the human experience, and the two boys that grew up together and now are becoming men, figuring out what that even means in a different country, in a different reality, with different people around them, that really you realize how much of your impact of your own life and your own work and your set of decisions and morals impact other people's lives. So we always wanted to have that, bigger scope story with this little nuances of kids playing in the back of their mind, as the actor. So we really infused that in the relationship. And same with the actors and the cast that was Cuban-American cast. So all the Cuban-American side of the film. And we wanted very much the genuine experience there, since we don't have it. Because we really have the other experience, the main character's experience, but we were missing out some of the story there. And we were very open to really be like, hey guys, just change the script. Let us know how you would approach it. What are we missing from this side of the story? And they were very supportive, the actors too. They were really connected with the story and the script, and they really loved it. And they really brought a lot to the table. Child actors as well. We had two child actors, and it was like that, what you were saying. It was just like just releasing the camera, have them play, get some improv moments, throw the script away, and see what you find out. And it's always better. They always come up with a better version of whatever you had planned, which is beautiful. You know, it's also finding the right kids that have that inner world, that don't care about the camera, don't care about anything else, and can connect with the adult actor, because that's what they're gonna, you know, that interaction with the adult actor. It's really the adult actor is the director on those scenes. At least for us, it was more kind of like directing through them for the kids to really perform to what we needed.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think I'm getting to wrap it up here. Ariel had asked about if you'd seen each other's films yet, and I didn't want to necessarily put you on the spot, but Rich, you did see Small Time. I hear it sounds like so good.
Yeah, we've watched all of them, and we've enjoyed all of your movies. It's just really, really great experiences. So, you know, thank you.
Yes,
Awesome.
same here. I watched all of your films and really enjoyed every single one of them. So yeah.
All right. Well, if you haven't, you don't have to say, but also the audience has until tomorrow night to watch all of the 5 films, and I hope that you will. Thank you guys all for being with us, the audience, the directors. Wonderful time here, and we will see you at the awards tomorrow night. I'm going to bumble the times, Chris. I think it's tomorrow at, I'm waiting for a number to pop up on my screen. Tomorrow evening, live streamed awards starting at 7 Central, is that right? 7:30 Central Time. All right, there we go. All right, thank you all again. Wonderful to see you again.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much for having us. Have a good day. Have a good day, everyone. Bye.
Bye.